Hi, this is Santosh Christudas, also known as Jack Bliss in the internet world. You can call me Sunny. And I'm with the Toronto Business Journal. And today we are going to be talking about the Mandela Effect. And today I have a guest with me, a rising Mandela Effect YouTube star, Daniel Berdichevsky. And he's going to be talking with us about this amazing phenomenon that's catching the world by storm. And very few people are talking about it for some odd reason. So we're going to find out more about Daniel. And yeah, how are you, Daniel, today? And tell us a bit about yourself.
Doing very well, thank you, and thank you for having me on. Name is Daniel. I'm 32 years old. I was born in Russia, in Moscow, and I grew up speaking Russian, and I grew up split between New York City and Arizona, between my mom and dad, and then my mom moved to California, and I've been here for many years ever since in the San Diego area. I am a lifetime experiencer of all things paranormal, whether that be out-of-body experiences, near-death experiences, lucid dreaming, UFO sightings. I've pretty much seen it all. And it's my life has been quite mysterious, and this Mandela effect has kind of pushed that 10 times over now.
Oh, I'd imagine. It's almost
Right.
like the spiritual realm and the material realm have almost merged in some way, like dreamlike
Right.
almost. Well, that's
Yeah.
good. And
hmm
you're very spiritual by nature. So this maybe that's why you're more in tune with the Mandela effect, you'd say?
That is a really excellent question. I would say I am a very careful observer of my surroundings. So
Mhm.
I try to have moments throughout the day where I just observe the outside world, and I notice really subtle things. And in those quiet moments, I kind of have that connection, I feel, to things that are changing or bizarre events taking place, essentially. Yeah.
That's fascinating.
hmm
So, thank you very much for sharing about yourself. And so, to start off with, let's just start from the basics. So, what was your first official Mandela effect? The one that you knew, okay, something's going on here.
Well, it was kind of two at the same time.
Mhm.
It was, first of all, it was actually Nelson Mandela himself.
Mm.
So, around the time that he died, so I believe it was 2013, I saw it on the news. I was watching CNN and I saw that he died, and something just clicked in my brain at that moment. I didn't realize it at the time, but I knew something was off about that situation. And then I started remembering a school project I did. It was not just like a small, it was like one of the year end big projects that you do where you have to do a speech and you write this big essay and you do all this research. And I did mine on Nelson Mandela. And to me, it's not even like a matter of debate. Like, I know 100% that he died in jail. That is 100% my memory. My memory was that he spent about, I believe, 25 to 27 years in prison,
Mhm.
where he subsequently died around the year 1990. And here he was, president of South Africa all the way until 2013. And, and I'm
Yeah.
just absolutely stumped.
Wow.
And so gradually, kind of over time, after 2013, I started kind of looking into it more and more. But the second one that kind of happened at the same time was JFK,
Ah,
John F.
yes.
Kennedy, and the six people
Yes.
inside,
Oh, that's a big one.
which is another thing that I spend a ton of time researching as well. So there was a period of time in my life where I was absolutely obsessed with JFK, and I was really intrigued by the whole thing, and I would sometimes spend hours
Mhm.
researching everything, like tons of videos, and I read books on it and everything. And there was four people in the car, not six. So those two are kind of my main Mandela effects that sort of got me on the trajectory to everything else, essentially.
That's good because I also recall reading about Nelson Mandela like dying in prison. Like I was growing up in India and history books,
Hmm.
but I thought okay maybe like it was poetic. I don't know. And then of course the big one, the JFK one, 4 people in the car. No way. There was no way there was 6 people in the car, and that really but that wasn't the one that woke me up. Mine was a bit more of the Mr. Rogers song. It was that song lyric.
Right,
It's a wonderful
right.
day in this neighborhood. That changes the whole meaning of the song. I mean, that was, yeah,
On top of that, what's interesting about that particular one is that Tom Hanks in the movie about
yes,
him sang it the way we remember. So I
yeah.
don't know if you saw that movie or
Yeah,
not.
I saw that movie with my wife. It was,
Yeah. So I don't know if that's some kind of taunting mechanism or what that was all about,
I think
but
I don't know, I think they're making fun of us in some way, in a high level, maybe.
they have to be.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think so.
yeah. That's good. And
Um,
so, what inspired you to start your YouTube channel? Like, was it the Mandela effect that prompted you to start it, or was it?
no, it was just sort of random.
Mhm.
So first it was just kind of silly things, a few things here and there, a hiking trip or a song. And then I'm like, you know what? I think people would be interested in hearing my dreams because I have a lot of really intense, vivid dreams. Had a lot of quite a few out of body experiences. So that's initially what I started sharing. And then from then on, I started kind of becoming increasingly more obsessed with the Mandela effect and things relating to that. So,
Oh, that's
yeah.
good.
Hmm.
And what is the changes in people that you've noticed, like people around you, when you heard about the Mandela effect, and then you're trying to convince somebody? How was your reactions like?
That is a really complex one that changes in people. In the old reality, this is kind of a blurry line for me because I don't know if this is like distinctly related to a social change and the onset of technology,
Hmm.
or if people like actually are in a from a different reality. But to me, uh, people appear to be a little bit like more docile here, just a little bit more tunnel vision. They were a little bit more energetic and kind of spontaneous. There was a
Yeah,
greater element of spontaneity and randomness in like the old version of Earth or whatever you want to call it.
right.
That's at least that's my personal subjective experience. I'm not saying that's necessarily what it is. That's just how I feel.
I hear you because the people are a bit different. They're more sensitive. Like, have you noticed they're a little bit more sensitive about anything that's off the mainstream narrative? Let's just say. Have you have you noticed that? Like,
Yeah, yeah.
I
Very sensitive,
yeah,
uh, combative even at times.
yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
angry sometimes.
angry, combative. Yeah. I'm kind of fortunate though, in that I'm surrounded by quite a lot of good people. So for me, it's been more of a good experience, and I've been fortunate enough to talk to literally dozens upon dozens of people who have the same sort of changes with the sun and moon and everything else. And so that kind of validates that this is not that we're not crazy.
No, no.
Basically, we're not.
In fact,
Right.
in some ways, we're kind of the sane ones. It feels that way,
We're,
right? Like, how can you not see these changes when you explain it to people? Like, you know.
Exactly, exactly. It's ridiculous, really. It's like right in front of your face.
Exactly. I mean, it was there, and then of course there's also the personal Mandela effects. Like you were
Mm.
saying, your own surroundings change. Like this tree was never here before. This building structure was never here before. Because I live near Algonquin College, and all of a sudden overnight, which what used to be completely just plain grass, just overnight there
Wow.
was like these massive building structures that were never there before, and people are just walking around it like, and I'm kind of almost losing my mind, like what's going on here?
Wow. And this is a place that you drove by often, you're familiar with and everything?
Yeah, yeah, I've
Yeah.
been here for like 6 years now, and
Wow.
And I went to
That
that
is
college
something.
before that, and so I used to run across that, to catch my bus, and all of a sudden these
Hmm.
things out of nowhere, and in this reality, it's always been there. So, and and here's the worst thing: people, I don't know if you've seen this, but sometimes people seem to get some kind of downloads. Have
I've
you
had
ever
them.
come
I've had
across
many
those?
of them. Yeah, I've
Yeah.
had many downloads. Yes.
Oh, that's very creepy. I'm sorry, I can't use any other word, but
It is creepy. It is creepy because it's some kind of, I mean, I think sometimes it's spiritual and sometimes it's some kind of AI system. So you kind of,
hmm,
it's really hard to discern, I think, which one is which.
yes.
This reality is really tricky. It wants to trick you every which way it can. So
I
I'm
know
really
some.
careful with everything. Yeah.
It's all a test,
Um,
I think. Yeah.
yeah. I did want to mention, since you were talking about personal things,
Yeah.
just real quick.
Sure.
I had something happen here in my house where
Oh.
it was related to a microwave, which is kind of silly, but
Mhm.
we had the same microwave for many years, and it had no logo in front of it, nothing. It was just a plain black box. One morning I wake up and there's this big logo. It says Westinghouse on it.
Whoa. Huh.
And I tell my wife, I'm like, look at this logo. And she just said it's always been there. I'm like,
Oh no. That's so hard, man.
and then,
I
yeah,
don't
and
know.
then Westinghouse on its own is actually pretty strange because that's
Oh.
related to Nikola Tesla, and that's also related to Thomas Edison and the onset of electricity and all those
Oh.
inventions. So that's an old company,
Right.
old company, yeah. So it was really odd. I couldn't get over it for weeks, really. Every time I went to the kitchen, I'm just staring at the microwave.
And
Yeah,
what's worse is what your wife says it was always there. So it's
yeah,
kind of making you question, is this the same, same person almost? Like or is she, and I know some people are kind of afraid of to talk about it. So they're just like, oh, they kind of dismiss it that way. My wife kind of
mhm.
did the same things about certain stuff, like, oh, it's probably always that way. But then, sometimes she herself says, no way, that was not there before. So maybe it
That
takes
is
something
great.
maybe it takes something more to convince some people, or maybe they're just not ready yet. That's
That's a good point. That's a good point. Yeah, I think you're onto something right there.
yeah,
Yeah. Mhm.
that's very good. Thank you for sharing that experience with us. And you did talk about the white sun, right? It seems a bit different, don't you think? That's very important.
That's to me, it's like probably the most important one, honestly, the
Yeah,
changes in the sky, because the sun gives life, and the sun we have now,
exactly.
it almost feels like it brings, like, I don't know another way to put it, like it's trying to kill you or something. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
so
It's
bright.
so intense.
Yeah.
Um, this is so initially what I was thinking. I was really trying to be rational about all this too. So I'm like, okay, is this a depleted ozone layer?
Hmm.
Is this intense UV radiation? Is this something wrong with the atmosphere? What is this? But then I like kept looking at it more and more every day and paying attention. And sometimes it's a blue color, and sometimes it's a white color. And
Wow.
the way the light penetrates the clouds makes absolutely no sense. So
I
in
hear
my
you.
childhood, I lived for quite a few years in Tucson, Arizona, which is a hot desert.
Oh.
And in the summer, I used to be able to be outside all day long with this big, beautiful yellow sun with its
Hmm.
golden rays everywhere. And it was hot, but I was able to tolerate it quite easily. And now if I'm out there for an hour, it starts to get really intense. It starts to feel like it burns my skin. Feels like
Wow.
a microwave, oddly enough, now that I mentioned it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's a lot. It has to be something more than simply just UV radiation. It looks completely different. It
Yeah, it happened
completely changed.
overnight. It changed so quickly, like
People
that's
didn't notice. I mean, even
yeah.
I didn't notice. I only started paying attention to it like around 2015 or 2016,
Ah,
something like that.
that's
And
interesting.
yeah, so it was kind of a gradual process for me too. Like
Hmm.
I started noticing the burning skin and things like that. I'm like, okay, something is just not right.
Hmm.
And not even just the sun itself, but actually eclipses in general.
Yeah.
I had one of my most vivid memories in life was in 1999.
Hmm.
It was at my school, and I saw a solar eclipse, and it was just so stunningly beautiful. Just the way it looked, really cosmic and natural. The only way I can describe it, how the moon. I think it was a total solar eclipse, if I'm not mistaken, but it was just absolutely remarkable. And I haven't seen a solar eclipse like in person since, but
Hmm.
I've seen a lot of videos, and they're pretty good videos. And what I see in those videos looks nothing like that solar eclipse I saw in '99.
Hmm.
So what's going on? It's completely changed. It almost looks artificial. You have like one light bulb covering another.
We're in a different realm, it seems, almost like overnight,
Yeah.
that. And for me personally, the sun, well, as I said, I only came to Canada around 2012, right? So before that, of course, I remember the yellow sun and growing up in India. And then, of course, when
Hmm.
I came to Canada, I kind of assumed, oh, maybe in Canada it's a bit brighter because the sun is closer, or I don't know, it's like in a different
Oh,
angle.
gotcha.
So I
Yeah,
just sort of brushed it off, so to speak. And
I get it. I get it. Yeah.
yes, also speaking of the sun, in 2012 is supposedly when they did that CERN thing, right? Like the big hadron collider. Do you think, I wanted to get into this topic. What do you think is actually causing the Mandela effect? Do you think it's that CERN hadron collider, or is it some mass consciousness shift, or
Well,
what are your
I
thoughts?
have a I have a number of theories, and that doesn't include the dream I had.
Hmm.
I think I would have to assume that they have to be involved somehow. I'm not like well versed in what they do over there though, but there's just
Hmm.
some things that they do that are just incredibly strange. So
Yes,
I
I
don't know
do.
if you remember the video that they came out. It was like a promo video
Oh
where they
gosh.
had a Mandela or Bond number one Mandela.
Yeah.
Have you seen that? The guy was
Yeah, yeah,
holding
yeah,
up
yeah.
the sign.
Yes.
So Bond number one being the first James Bond, whose his first
Yeah.
name was Nelson.
Right.
So he's basically saying Nelson Mandela on the sign.
Exactly. Exactly.
Why? They're basically shoving in our face that they're involved.
Yeah.
What else could that possibly be?
Exactly. Yeah.
And then Sally Field, or Fields, how it used
Yeah.
to be, her brother working at CERN, and then her
Oh
Oscar
yeah.
nomination and her speech
And
changing.
changing.
And
All connected somehow.
yeah, and then the I think Shiva, the Hindu goddess,
Yeah,
was
yeah,
it
yeah.
Shiva?
They did some kind of ritual there. It was
Hmm.
very disturbing, let's just say.
Yeah, it was a video where they're dancing like basically the dance of destruction or something.
Yeah.
But in 2009, oddly enough,
Mhm.
when I was living in New York, I they had this like art show thing going on where they
Mhm.
actually displayed a light show of Shiva on the Empire State Building. I don't know if you heard of that or not.
I'm gonna
So
look that one. Maybe I've
yeah,
seen
you
it.
should look it up. But
Yeah.
that was before you came to North America. But
Ah,
I've seen it in person,
wow.
and it was incredibly disturbing and creepy. It didn't look pleasant at all. Like
Wow.
just the way it was presented, it looked ominous. Like it was
Yeah.
deliberately ominous. So I don't know. I mean,
Mhm.
why do they want to dance the dance of destruction? Is my question.
Yeah,
Why
I
did they
mean,
have the statue there to begin with?
exactly.
I mean, are
Um,
they just colliding particles together? I guess,
yeah.
but
I did want to talk to you about also, like, I don't know if you've seen this video. There's a guy that does a lot of research into Tesla, and through his out of body experiments, Tesla actually discovered different alternate versions of our Earth, like
oh,
seven versions or something like that. So there's like one version is ours, the old timeline that we used to live in. The second is
uh-huh.
just almost like ours, but there's like subtle changes, like changes in the Bible and the words, the logos, all that stuff.
Oh, okay, okay.
And what CERN is basically doing is they've discovered a way to use Tesla's discoveries to merge them together, which Tesla kind of knew back in the day. he wrote about it. And
Wow.
so I think it was I think he's passed away, that YouTuber, but I believe it's Wotam or something.
I
He's
would definitely be interested in checking him out for sure.
Yeah, I will share
Yeah.
you the link after this is done. But yeah, definitely that's what he was talking about. So it's CERN doing it, and he was like very firm about it. But I'm not saying it was CERN, but it seems like there's some connection going on. Either they're
I
like,
mean, yeah,
yeah,
there would have to be. I mean, of course, obviously, they're never going to talk about it. You go
that's
up
the
to a
problem.
CERN scientist, they'll just laugh in your face and
Yeah,
say, "You're
yeah,
absolutely ridiculous for thinking we have the power, such power that we could do this." But
yeah,
I mean, look, I think it's the most powerful magnet in the world, right? It has an
yes,
enormous amount of magnetic power. The thing is like 15 miles long, 500 feet below ground.
yeah,
So the machine is massive and it's powerful, and we know
yeah.
that. So
And in this reality, CERN created the internet or something like that. Have you looked into that one? That was very bizarre. I always thought it was the U.S. military or something that created the internet. I don't know if it's,
this is a new one to me.
it
You're
was,
shocking me right now. Really?
yeah, yeah.
Oh my God.
I came across it. I was like, what the heck? And there's a
Yeah,
lot of
no,
tech
I
before our
remember.
time as well going on. So technology that we didn't think was available is all of a sudden like available in the 1900s or something. There's
I heard about the scooters, electric
Yeah,
scooters being available like in 1901. Yeah.
yeah,
No, wow. Okay, that is a
yeah,
new one to me because I remember, yeah, the internet being invented by the US Navy for communication purposes or something like that.
yeah.
Oh, wow.
It just goes to show like there's so many out there that I don't like, both of us might not know, but somebody else might know. So it's almost like we all have to come together to figure this one
Yeah,
out, like humanity, whoever's affected. And
right.
unfortunately, as we talked about before the interview, like a lot of people are not talking about it. Like the big names like Alex Jones and David Icke, all these, they talk about all these other things, but not
Mhm.
this one that's right in front of our faces. And
Right.
so I was wondering, like, do you have any idea on why that is? Is it because they're on some kind of script or they're NPCs or?
You know what? That is a really good question. I'm not 100% sure about David Icke. I definitely have some respect for him. He's
Mhm.
a really interesting person. He has some really brilliant ideas, and I think he's really smart.
Mhm.
Alex Jones, I think, is 100% on a script. He is definitely
He's
he
funny
is definitely
sometimes.
some sort of I don't want to say the word, but I probably just should. I think he's probably a shill of some kind. Yeah,
Yeah,
for the system. Yeah.
yeah. He's
Um,
just so
he
dramatic,
because
but he gets people's attention though. I like that about him. So
no. Yeah, I used to be a
he has his
huge fan of
purpose.
his.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
around 2008, 2009, I was a huge fan of Alex Jones.
Ah, yeah,
Obsessed with him. Yeah, but
yeah,
then I'm like, this guy's a little bit too eccentric for me. Time to move on.
yeah.
Yeah,
But he
yeah,
gives that initial start. Like you said,
yeah,
2009 is like that's when I started to look more into conspiracy theories and all these other
same here.
mainstream
Yeah, same
narratives.
here.
So he's a
Yeah.
good beginner. He's good for beginners to come in.
Yes, he's
But
good. Yeah,
but
it's
after that,
almost
I think yeah, he's
yeah,
yeah.
it's almost like the system has a way of trying to. It's almost like they actually kind of want to wake people up, and so they have these like standardized people they parade before you to see if they can do it. Maybe.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, it's not all sinister. There's got to be something pushing people to wake up, some kind of
yeah.
force.
I've
So
I've I've heard there's something to do with karma. Like if they show it in plain sight, then they can do anything they want or something. I've heard of that. There's
yeah,
some.
are you familiar with iPad Go 2, the cartoon?
I believe I've seen the YouTube video.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that I think that's a really good example of what I think the plan is.
Ah,
And shoving it right in your face, and I've
yeah.
made a lot of videos on that one cartoon alone because it's driven so many people to madness, basically, because it
Wow.
has a lot of hidden a lot of hidden codes. People think it has hidden dates in it, and no one seems to ever figure out what they are.
Interesting.
Events that are supposed to take place in the future and things like that.
Right.
So
So
it's a
they kind
really
of pre-program
complex.
you. They pre-program you, right?
It's
Like,
predictive programming, yeah.
yes,
And it's not
yes.
just that. There's so many music videos, so many movies that show the same thing as that cartoon. And
Wow.
I've covered a lot of it on my channel too.
Interesting. So
Yeah,
like even the Simpsons, they're able to somehow predict things, right? Like they're like time
yeah.
travelers or something. And
The Simpsons is just unbelievable, especially the Donald Trump on the escalator
I
with
know.
Melania.
Yeah,
I would. That's literally
going
the
away.
exact same scene in real life. It's unbelievable.
I know. It's I think that's also one theory I've heard somebody talk about. It's actually time travelers that are causing these Mandela effects. So these
Oh
time
yeah.
travelers, like they're like super ultra rich elites or something, and they have the
Hmm.
technology, but they don't want to disclose it, of course. But then when you go back in time, it causes the ripple effect, right, or something like things change a little bit here and there, like Back to the
Right.
Future.
Yeah. Right.
Um,
Right.
so that's
Yeah.
another theory.
Yeah. I mean, I have heard a little bit about that. I do know, like in numerology, like the
Mhm.
number 88
Oh yes.
is associated with time travel. And for example, Donald Trump has 88 coding all over the place.
Oh,
And
interesting.
57 and 88, which is funny because I was born on May 7th, 1988.
Oh, so
So
you
Donald
see that
Trump has
number a lot.
57 and 88 coding in numerology.
Ah,
I just thought it was a funny thing. Yeah.
interesting. Yeah,
Yeah.
speaking of numbers, I saw on your channel you were talking about the reoccurring numbers, right? That you often see. Like
Yeah, I
it
do.
I think there's a
I
connection with
do.
the Mandela effect because I see 1111 and certain numbers 444 things like that now and then.
Doesn't it seem like it's a little bit too often for it to just be coincidences, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, there's just no way. Like, I mean, there would be times where I would see the same number 10, 15 times in one day,
Wow,
everywhere. I mean,
that's
how is
incredible.
that possible if
Yeah,
it's not some kind of matrix insertion or whatever?
exactly.
Yeah,
That's definitely like some kind of way of them communicating with you, but not in a direct way, so that they don't interfere with you. They can't just, show up out of the sky and just like say, Daniel, this is the way you must go. Because I think that affects certain spiritual laws that are in place. So like maybe if you see like 1111 or the angels are surrounding, that's the common thing, right? But you
right.
can use that in your life. There's a channel named,
Yeah.
I don't know if you know him, Jason Christopher, one of my favorite uh, Mandela Effect channels, and he said that he was kind of using the repeating numbers. Suppose if he wasn't sure about somebody, and he
Uh-huh.
would kind of like look at the clock and he would see his recurring number was 444. One time he wasn't sure about somebody, and then he saw 443, and then he was like, "Uh-oh, something's not right here. Something's not aligning here." And then he found out that when he later talked to that person, he actually found out that person was trying to like cheat him. And then like you see, there's some kind of a so there are ways we can use these recurring numbers in our own personal life. Um,
Right. Right. Yeah, there's another excellent, really interesting channel. I don't know if you heard of him, called the Quantum Businessman.
Quantum business. No, I haven't heard of him, but I'll look it up.
Yeah, I'll send you that link because
Okay.
he is really interesting,
Okay.
really unusual theories and stuff. But yeah, it's related to numbers as well. Yeah. Mhm.
I'm gonna look into that one. Awesome. So, what are your thoughts on the Mandela Effect movie? Did you have a chance to see that one?
I did see it. Yeah, I
Okay.
actually liked it. It was pretty good.
It was. It was. I saw
Yeah.
it too. I was a little bit scared watching it because it's too real life, to be honest. It's not like
Yeah.
something that's fantasy anymore, right? It's just,
Yeah. Yeah, it's so
oh gosh.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really interesting. The ending was definitely kind of disturbing,
Yeah.
with the quantum computer just basically going insane.
Yeah.
And again, though, I don't know, like, if that, I don't know anything about quantum computers, so I can't really speak much for it, but I'm just kind
Yeah.
of reluctant to think that they have enough power to do that here yet.
I,
Maybe in the future, maybe the
Mhm.
future versions of them do.
Yeah. But it
Yeah,
could be them in the future that are like, somebody way in the future that are bringing that technology here just
retro
to
causality.
That's one thing my
Yeah,
producer and I were talking about is maybe they kind of captured some of us and put us in this artificial matrix. They took us out of our original, nature, the yellow sun and everything, and a real moon. And that's another thing. Like the moon looks artificial. To some Mandela Effect viewers are reporting that as well. The whole state of nature is changed.
including me.
Yeah, yeah, of course. Yeah, like if the sun changes, of course the moon also has to like kind of um
Well, it emits like a completely unnatural light. It just looks like a flashlight, especially the way it shines through the clouds.
yeah, I
I
agree.
compare it to like a fluorescent light bulb or something. It looks so fake, like
Ah,
Truman Show fake.
yeah.
And then on top of that, for me,
Yeah.
I don't know if this is a Mandela effect for you, but all these pink moons and blue moons and
Yeah.
yellow moons
I've heard
and
of
all
blue
these
moons. Yeah, that's about it.
there, so many of these super moons and blood moons and eclipses. It used to be a rare thing, like
Yeah,
in the old reality, where
exactly.
you would have like a super moon or a blood moon. It was rare, like maybe once every 2 years. Now,
Hmm.
every month or two, we have some kind of strange moon. I actually think we have a super moon this month.
Right.
I'm
That
pretty
is
sure,
odd.
yeah.
Like I sometimes see the moon, it's like huge or it just changes place. All of a sudden it went from here to there. It's just looks like
It
it's
does.
been
It
projected.
changed.
Yeah.
And then even the crescent doesn't even look right. Like
Yeah.
it's just off.
Sometimes you can
Yeah.
see the stars through it. Like that was not, I don't remember that in my old reality. I've seen photos of like, is the moon transparent now or it's,
There was a guy a few years back. He actually had this video taken down on YouTube
yeah.
where he had a telescope and he was filming a close up of the moon. And it was a really kind of well known video actually, and it had this like really strange distortion going
The
back and
ripple.
forth.
Yeah, yeah, I've seen that
Yeah, you
one.
saw that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
YouTube took that
yeah,
down. I didn't realize that.
yeah. The YouTube took that video down. Yeah,
Why?
I think they actually. I'm pretty sure they took down his entire channel, if I'm not
Oh,
mistaken.
wow.
There you go. So they're hiding something, right?
That's pretty interesting. So it was like showing to the world like basically the moon is not solid. It's just some kind of a, I don't know, like a
Hologram,
hologram.
maybe.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know why they take that down, but I don't know what kind of reason they would come up with to take it down. But
It's
hopefully it's
really
up again now.
concerning. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So also like going back to the geography, I know you do a lot of videos on the geographical changes, right? So that's a big one, right? Like
Right.
lands changing, that's massive. What are your
Well,
thoughts on that?
yeah. I was, as a kid, just absolutely obsessed with history and geography and world cultures, and I would read about different countries, and I would just stare into like I had this big atlas, and I
Mm,
would just stare at it for like hours, and I have a really good visual imprint, like a visual memory of what countries look like, and these were really highly accurate maps too. This is not like just some crappy little thing someone put together. These were like professional atlases,
yeah.
And so I had so many. One of the more recent ones I did was Norway is now bordering Russia,
Oh wow.
which it, I
Yeah, I
remember
heard
the
that one.
border kind of just ending, kind of
Yeah.
like just below the Arctic Circle of
Yes.
Norway, but now it just wraps all the way around Finland and all the way around uh, what do you call the Stockholm, the Sweden, all the way around Sweden. It wraps all the way around, and it has a 120-mile long border with Russia now.
Wow.
And in that region in Russia where borders, I actually had family that lived there too. So I'm actually somewhat familiar with that region in Russia.
That's
So
those kind of massive land changes. Don't forget there are people living in those land as well, right? So there's like new people
exactly.
there, or some people that are removed, or
That's
it's
a great question. That's what I wondered about Nelson Mandela in South Africa, right? So what
yeah,
about the residents of South Africa, like, did they not
Yeah.
have a memory of him dying in prison?
It's
Or
so
what
close
about
to
his
home.
family, or things like that? I've always wondered about that too. It's really strange.
It is strange. And for me personally, the biggest one for me, well, it's kind of like a monument that kind of appeared out of nowhere, was the Great Wall of India that just blew me out in the water. Like, I grew up in India, like I've studied, history. We never once covered that, ever, ever.
That's
And all of a sudden it's the second largest wall in the world. I
that
mean,
is just wow. That is shock. That's really shocking.
it
I
is.
did hear about that wall before, yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
I would have heard about it too.
Yeah.
I would have known about that wall as well. So it makes no sense at all.
And what about the people living there? And one of my friends, actually, he's also Indian. I shared it with him, and he got very angry. Like either they seem to get very angry, or they like either or one of my friends, he at first he didn't know what I was talking about, but then he said, then he kind of like went silent, and then he got the download, and then, oh yeah, I know about that wall, and
Oh
that
wow.
really
Uh,
that's
I've
to me
had
still the people changing is the, like, I don't want, like, personally I want to believe that everybody here is real, and there's no, I know some people say there's soulless NPCs in this matrix, and that's why they get the downloads, or they just go with whatever the mainstream narrative is. But what are your thoughts on like on that? Like, are you comfortable with that idea, or do you think
well, that would tie into the dream that I was going to discuss. It
okay,
would
go ahead.
connect to that. So
Sure.
definitely not soulless,
Hmm.
but to summarize in one word, clones. Well,
Clones,
that's what I was
yeah.
shown in the. Okay, it's really complicated. So
Haha.
let me just get into it.
Okay.
And this is really out there, so just bear with
Oh, no,
me.
no, nothing's out there after that, after Mandela Effect.
So I was kind of in a state of like half sleep, and
Okay.
I was actually receiving downloads myself. Well, it was like a sort of channeling, and
Ah,
it didn't feel sinister at all or malevolent. It just felt like information. Like sometimes I get it. Like I would have these running thoughts like before I fall asleep,
right.
and then I was this whatever was telling me this was saying that the Earth was destroyed
Hmm.
a number of years back, and he just kind of kept saying it over and over again, and he's like, it's in the process of repair right now. And so as he's saying that, I'm like drifting off to sleep,
Hmm.
and I'm in a really deep dream, and I'm at my current workplace where I work right now in the dream,
Okay.
and I'm in a car. I'm in like a black kind of government looking car, and there is two men in the car wearing black suits, like Men in Black type figures,
Huh.
and they actually look Middle Eastern in appearance, and
Hmm.
they look really serious and really stern. And they turned to me and they said, "Look out the window and look at the sky." And they were driving around where I work around the parking lot really slow.
Hmm.
And so I peek out and I look at the sky, and the clouds and the entire sky is covered in a red orange dust. This
Wow.
really kind of cosmic looking space dust.
Hmm.
It looked out of this world,
Wow.
but that's not even close to the strangest thing. So as I was looking at this dust, I was able to see some stars behind it, and basically I was seeing these like space beings. I guess
Hmm.
they were like entities that were living, but they lived in space. They kind of looked like giant manta rays or stingrays or other like kind of entities that were kind of flying around, and they were like cleaning up the atmosphere. And so
Right.
as I was looking at them, I know that I just had a knowing that that's what they were doing. And so they were cleaning it up, and they were just like kind of flying around in this like really elegant type of pattern, and it was kind of really beautiful to see actually. And I saw the moon. The
Hmm.
moon looked like the real moon I remember. It
Right.
was it was big, beautiful, and but it was just kind of covered in this dusty layer like everything else was.
Interesting.
So basically, we drive around, and they take me to a room um, in my workplace,
Mhm.
um, and it was some kind of massive underground city. And so we entered like some kind of box where there were other people like waiting in line, and they had like some kind of face scanner or retina scanner or something like that. And
Hmm.
or it was like it kind of looked like some chamber of some kind. It was really strange. And they would like go from this box and then they would enter the underground city. And as I was trying to enter it, I basically I was stopped by somebody. And
Mhm.
that's when I woke up. But I've had a number of dreams after that,
Hmm.
kind of relating to this dream. Basically,
Wow.
what I was seeing was something like the movie Matrix or Surrogates. I've
Yeah.
never actually seen the movie Surrogates. Have you heard of it?
I've heard of it, but of course I've
Yeah,
seen The Matrix. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Well, it was kind of like Surrogates with what's that actor's name? Famous actor anyway. Bruce Willis.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Bruce Willis is in it. And yeah.
I'll watch it.
So basically in that movie, people are living in virtual reality lives. So they go
Hmm.
inside the silver pod and they're kind of immersed in this fake world.
Oh,
And
okay.
so I had a number of dreams after this where I'm like in these underground laboratories, seeing people living like inside these silver pods, and they would occasionally like bring them out, and they would be in like a completely like mind controlled state, like they wouldn't know where they are. They looked really pale and unhealthy, and
Hmm.
they would all kind of line up in order, and there would be a scientist or somebody in a lab coat like giving them orders, like something similar to Simon Says the game, like do this or do that, and they would just do whatever they did, and then they
Hmm.
would go back into the pods, and then they would be immersed again. So basically what I'm getting out of this is
Wow.
that the earth was destroyed. We instantaneously, a huge segment of the population instantaneously shifted into a virtual reality version of Earth, while
Oh.
some people, instead of being in the VR, um, actually shifted with their entire bodies into the VR game. So we are in our natural bodies in an unnatural world. So when we look at the sun, we see technology. When we look at the moon, we see technology. But
I
the
see.
people in pods don't see that. They see what they feel and look as natural. That's why they can't tell the difference.
So that's why they get the downloads and the
And things
new
like that,
reality.
yeah. And the mind control and things like that. So
Wow.
but still, like it's a really realistic, hyper realistic. I would even argue that there's some things in this VR realm that are actually enhanced to make it designed to feel even more real. Like I think that actually pain is even more intense here than
Hmm.
our old Earth, and other things are more intense to make the
Interesting.
illusion make it look more real.
Wow. That dream of yours explains a lot, I have to say, but especially about the people's behaviors
Yeah,
and so different versions of our old, the people that we knew and loved are kind of here in the.
I think yeah, basically like so they're experiencing life in third person basically. So
Mhm.
is there clones that are here in a VR kind of setting while their original bodies are immersed? It's really complicated and it's really strange and it's
You've
convoluted
done a
and
beautiful
it
job of
sounds
explaining it,
sci-fi.
my friend. My friend, you have a very you're able to remember your dreams so vividly. I really admire that.
Yeah,
Do
I
you write
do.
them down or do you like just remember them like
No, that's why I put them on my channel. That's kind of my
okay.
way of remembering. Yeah.
But
A long
I
time ago, I used to write them down though. Yeah.
yeah, and also I think those dreams are more real than we think. Like, I mean, it could actually be your soul going to that place and then just seeing that and then coming back. It's not like it's just it's in your head. It's actually you're actually going somewhere and seeing it all happen right before
You
your
know, it's
eyes, right?
interesting. You were
Yeah.
talking about Tesla earlier and how all these different versions of Earth are kind
Yeah.
of fused into one.
Yeah.
it's possible that that could be one of the versions or one of
Mm.
the parallel Earths that is also here on top of all the other ones.
Yeah.
So we're in all of them at the same time. That
Wow.
makes sense, actually.
That's fascinating. Your dream really completes my picture of what's really happening because, believe it or not, I did have an experience, a weird experience. This was, I think, after I got Mandela affected. A friend of mine said that he had called me, and he had actually spoken to me, and we speak the same dialect. We speak Tamil. It's
Uh-huh.
a South Indian dialect. And he said that he'd called me and he had talked to me, and then we'd even confirmed plans about everything. And then I
Wow.
told him, and then I call like, and then I just, randomly I just called him and I said, hey, do you still want to meet up? And he told me, buddy, I just talked to you. So I at that time I didn't know what it was. I thought it was like, is he just pulling my leg? And he didn't believe me either, because apparently maybe since you're saying like there's different versions of people, right? Maybe there's different timeline versions of me, and somehow he had tapped into a different version of me in a different timeline, and
Right.
it's really mind blowing. Maybe maybe he tapped into the clone version of me. I mean,
Possible, yeah.
I'm sure
Maybe,
there's
yeah.
if there's clone versions of people around us, I'm sure there's a clone version of us that's floating around. Let's just say, and that
There's been an increase in what's called like doppelganger sightings. I don't know if you ever heard of that.
doppelganger. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah.
it's on the increase. People are seeing
Oh,
doubles of themselves.
oh,
Like I go on this subreddit called Glitch in the Matrix, and
yeah.
that's like one of the most common stories
I
is people
know.
seeing their other self or things like that. So
Yeah,
yeah, there's something going on. Um, so yeah, it could be the case that we're in a giant mess of. Actually, the quantum businessman calls it a hairball of timelines.
a hairball timeline.
Yeah,
Wow,
I really like that the way he puts it. So
interesting.
it's
I'm
like,
gonna look that channel up.
yeah, yeah, all of it, just
Wow.
all of it, right here, right now, for whatever specific goal that has to occur. I don't know.
That's truly mind blowing. I mean,
It
maybe it's
is.
maybe God or higher powers. Maybe our mind is not like ready enough to grasp all of it, so they're like just slowly. It's like a slow disclosure
Yeah,
until
right.
something happens. So another thing I wanted to talk to you about was, do you think there's a reason or any spiritual reason behind any Mandela effect, or do you think it's just random, these changes? Because one of them, I will tell
Well,
you, like, the Roman numeral 4 has changed, right? It's like instead of the
no,
IV on,
yeah,
it's now all like one, it's all just four ones for the Roman numeral number 4. If you observe clocks, like giant clocks now, like
yeah.
Roman numeral clocks, it's not IV anymore. It,
Wow.
it's very big. It's a very big effect. Nobody can deny it. Even my brother, who's not into the Mandela effect, said, "Oh, that's probably like because his clock changed. He has a
Yeah.
Roman numeral clock, and
Wow.
the idea behind this, the reason why 4 has changed, is because it's to show that we are kind of like transcending the 3D into the fourth dimension. So we're kind of above the fourth dimension of time. This is just one way to explain a certain Mandela effect. So I was thinking maybe there are more reasons behind. It's not just random, these changes. There's actually like some kind
No,
of specific
no, it's
reasons.
not. I really think it's very strategic
Yes.
and
Yeah.
very planned on a higher level, both on the malevolent and benevolent
Yeah.
sides of things, and the neutral side of things also. Kind of just like I think it's guiding people into a certain direction of,
Mhm.
yeah, you're right, yeah, increased awareness, increased consciousness, increased awareness. So there's definitely positive in this for sure. I'm
Oh
not
yes.
denying. Yeah,
100%.
but it's still frustrating because you go out and you have the fake sun burning your skin. So it's like, how is that positive?
Maybe it's
Right?
there's also time dilation. I find like minutes seem to go a bit faster. Like some people think. Have you experienced that yourself too?
Increasing more every week, like every
Wow.
week. It's
goes faster.
Every day now, like as soon as the day starts, it's over. It's
I
so bizarre.
know, my gosh.
I mean,
So, yeah.
it is. There is like there would be like an entire hour that would pass, and I would. It was almost like it never even existed. I would have that
Wow.
happen, like really
Wow.
strange stuff, and it's not. Yeah, there is. Like time is becoming, I think, increasingly more irrelevant.
Yeah, that's
It's
true.
more in the moment
Yes,
type of
it's the
thing.
moment that's matter.
Yeah.
Like the time, the hour is late maybe, so there may maybe like everything's like speeding up for some reason to go
hmm
somewhere so that we get out of this, we transition quicker, maybe something like that.
I hope so. I I hope so because I don't want to. I don't know how much I can tolerate that thing anymore.
But
Rainy,
I'm
cloudy
enjoying it as
day.
well. Yeah.
Yeah, when it's a rainy, cloudy day, I am so happy.
I'd imagine.
I'm outside. I'm like, yes, the sun is gone. I'm a happy man. Yeah,
That's
but
interesting.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, like that was pretty good so far. Like we're discussing about the Mandela effect changes so far. So where do you think it's all headed? Where do you think it's like, when is the day? Do you think one day the sky is just going to open up like you saw in your dream, like just like everything just dispersing, like, and some voice from God is going to say, you are now free, my children, you can go ascend to the next level? Or do you think it's going to be like just slowly phasing us out? Like we're just going to like, what do you think? Where's all this headed? Your
I
opinion.
personally think neither, actually. I
Okay.
think we're just gonna, in the blink of an eye, just find ourselves somewhere else.
I've thought about that too.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
like, and we're just literally in a split second,
Wow.
and we're there. It
I'd
kind of
love
like
that.
it kind of feels like a funnel effect, like we're
Yeah.
being squeezed through something. That's what it
Yeah.
feels like.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I would love that too. Like no pain, just like we wake up, we go to sleep and we wake up in paradise. That would be so
that,
nice.
yeah, that would be great. Yeah.
Yeah, but well, we'll see, where all this is headed. And also, yeah, one more thing. Let's get back to the current affairs with this this pandemic and everything going on. Do you think the Mandela effect is somehow connected with this? Like, because especially since you talked about this clones and things going on, right? So is there a reason why they're asking people to wear masks and, like
I'm glad
goggles
you
now, I
brought
think
this
next.
up.
Yeah.
I'm glad you brought this up because I
No problem.
remember in the dreams or
Hmm.
the various dreams I had of people being in the silver pods.
Hmm.
Not all of them were in, some of them looked like they were in hospital beds
Wow.
and they had these strange coverings on their faces. Actually, they didn't look like anything like you would see in a hospital like right now. Like
Hmm.
they were like these strange contraptions I can't even describe. And
Interesting.
they were just laying in these beds and then other people were in the pods. But could there be a connection there? Possibly, yeah. But they had something covering their face.
Interesting.
Yeah,
So it's COVID-19 is somehow still connected with this the current timeline that we're in, it seems. Yeah.
it is. And it's a really strange thing. It really feels like this whole thing was just very planned and
Yeah.
very
2020 vision.
deliberate.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, why did it
very.
happen exactly in 2020? There's something spiritually like trying to wake us up to the next level, perhaps.
Yeah, yeah. That's a complex subject, though. I don't really know. Like, I think there's a lot of things going on with that. And yeah, some of it is definitely pretty has to do with control and things like that, kind of steering people in certain directions, and is not very nice. But
Oh, I'd
I'm very
imagine.
skeptical of the whole thing. I don't trust any of it. I don't trust what they say on the news. Nothing. I just yeah
Yeah. So, well,
yeah
they do mention what's interesting? Mainstream does kind of touch on the Mandela effect. They just say, "Oh, is it false memory?" They kind of touch on it. They say, Fruit Loops, or they do the very basic changes. Then I don't know if that's a way to like get people to wake up, or is it a way to just tell people, "Hey, nothing's happening. It's probably just your false memories." you know.
It's just, I think it's a mockery. Like, even if you put in the basic words Mandela Effect on YouTube,
Yeah,
one of the first videos that shows up is them
yeah.
explaining away false memories. But there's this other YouTuber called Brian Stavely, and I love what he says about this.
Hmm.
He says that how could countless upon countless people have the same false
Exactly.
memories of things that never existed?
Yes,
These
that's
are
so
things that
true.
supposedly never existed, right?
Yeah,
So how
exactly.
could they remember something that never existed?
Oh, I don't buy. I hate that memory thing. They'd say, "Oh, it's just your memory. Nothing's happening." It's so condescending to people,
It
and it's
is.
so
I actually had a few friends and acquaintances try to tell me that too. Because
yeah, of
like
course.
one of them's a psychologist, and he was like, "Oh, it's all in your brain. Come on."
Yeah,
Like, what's unusual is that some
yeah.
of these memories from my childhood about these some of these changes, I have such intense, vivid memories of. Like I was talking about on my channel pretty recently, the Fruit of the Loom logo with the cornucopia. I
Hmm.
have this like memory burned into my mind of like being 5 years old with my mom in New York, going to a store to buy clothes. And I remember just staring at the Fruit of the Loom for like the longest time as
Yeah,
a
of
kid. And I'm like,
course. It's colorful.
yeah, it was, or whatever, for whatever reason I was doing it. But it's such an ingrained memory in my mind, just like Shazam is too. Me and my brother watching TV when I was like 8, 9 years old, and the commercial for Shazam comes on. And my brother, I remember him so distinctly, him saying, I really want to see this movie.
Hmm. Have you talked to your brother about that, the Shazam movie? Like,
Oh, it bothers him so much.
oh,
He
so
know
he's
he
affected
remembers.
too. That's good.
Yes. Oh
Okay.
yeah. It bothers him so much. He's like, I talked to him about it many times. He's like, there's just no way that he knows it existed, basically.
Yeah, and they came out with a movie called Shazam just to mock the.
Yeah.
There's a new movie called Shazam, right?
Yeah,
So,
there is. Yeah,
so why
there
would they
is.
do
Yeah,
that now? Just to mock it
exactly.
further. Yeah,
It's kind of like the Mr. Rogers thing, singing it
yeah,
the original way. It's like another form of mockery or something, you know?
exactly.
Yeah.
But oh yes, and also like the big another big changes for me were the Bible changes. I'm like, I grew up Christian, and I saw the words, like, I have a YouTube video about it, and it has like almost 5,000 views, and so a lot of people are searching that for that, right? So strength of a unicorn in the King James Version Bible, and that one really got me because it was always strength of an ox, right? That's very
Yeah.
famous quote that a lot of people use. Unicorn, where did this come from? And then I asked the Bible shop owner about it, and he was like puzzled, like he must have seen hundreds, if not thousands, of Bibles, right? And he was shocked, let's just say.
Right.
And you'd think that when you go to church, somebody like the pastor would be like, or the priest or whatever would be like, hey, our Bible is changing. They're just supposed to be the spiritual leaders, trying to get us into more spirituality, but they never talk about it. And I even brought it up with one deacon, and he just sort of brushed it off. He's like, oh, it's just some different version of the Bible. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is one way you can get so many people into the church. Churches are not as, the attendance is not as great as it once was, let's say, but
Yeah.
they're not, it's almost like they're unwilling to talk about it. Either they're scared or they're clones, or it's,
Right. Well, and then I mean, there's things that like make no sense. Like I don't know if you know about the a wine skin to the wine bottle.
yeah, oh, that's a big one. And the flip-flops too sometimes.
Bottles didn't even exist back then, so, as
Yeah.
far as I know, right? No,
Yeah.
I don't think they
No,
did.
no
And
way.
then the word matrix is in there too, I believe.
Like the movie. And well, speaking of the changes themselves, you've also heard of the flip-flops, right? Like sometimes it's this, and it just, for me, the biggest
Yeah.
one recently came was the actor James Woods. For some reason, it went to James Wood for a while in my reality. And
Oh,
then,
really?
yeah, it
Okay,
was,
well,
even my wife was like, what, isn't it James Woods? And I said, I don't know, maybe it's another Mandela effect. And the odd thing is, on the not like I think the election night, right? It went back to James Woods for me, and I showed it to my mom. Look, it's gone back to
Wow.
James Woods. Like, what's going on here? Like, and
Wow.
it was like I replied. I'm a kind of a fan of James Woods, so I kind of like know his name really well. So it's like, why would his name flip flop? Any explanation for the flip flops?
Yeah, the most recent one I heard about is Fruit Loops,
Mhm.
how it changed from FRUIT to FROOT back to FRUIT.
What's going on
So,
there?
um, basically, I think the same thing, just a kind of mental experimentation or
Mhm.
spiritual experimentation with consciousness. Like, they're testing us? Did they notice that we did this? It's just a matter of awareness, you know?
Yeah.
I think like if we notice subtle things like that, that sort of implies increased awareness, maybe.
Hmm.
So it's kind of like it is related to spiritual growth, I think. Assuming that, the earth wasn't destroyed and we're not clones, but there is, I mean, by default, there is a version of earth where that happened because
Hmm.
in the multiverse, there's countless versions of earth where every conceivable thing happens. So, of
Yeah.
course,
Yeah.
that version exists too. So
It could be a
it has
grand
to be by
convergence,
default.
like just everything coming together in some random crunch. So that's
Convergence,
why you see
yeah,
different realities, sort of like different
yeah.
versions of us.
What bothers me even more than the flip flops though are
Mhm.
the celebrities that die several times.
Yeah.
Hear about
The same.
it
It's
just
so
doesn't
bizarre.
make any, and I'm not even talking about Nelson Mandela. There's been a bunch of them.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Kirk Douglas and
Kurt
I
Douglas.
don't.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he lived until he was like 105 or something.
Oh,
But
okay.
people have memories of him dying multiple times. And then there was a Christian preacher too. I can't remember his name.
Hmm.
Uh, I actually remember seeing his funeral around 2009.
Hmm.
Something Graham.
Billy
Was
Graham?
that
Oh,
maybe Billy Graham? Maybe it was him.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
he only died like last year. But people remember him dying like
A bunch of
10
times.
years ago. Yeah, really strange.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. Maybe it's the clone version of them. I don't
That's
know.
a good point. Even
Yeah.
the recent Larry King, the news guy, Larry King, even
Yeah.
some
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
remember him dying a long time ago,
Yeah.
but he just died. So
Exactly. It's death. I mean, that's a big one, right? Like, how could they just change the death like that?
I mean, that is, of course, yeah,
Even the
yeah,
celebrity name changes, like they don't notice their own name changing. So that one must be really,
yeah,
that one's really wild.
yeah, yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. So, what do you think is the state of nature? Do you think we live in a dream or a simulation, or is this base reality, or is this?
Well, I mean, all I could say is that nothing feels right and nothing looks right. Where we are now, something is definitely really off.
Mhm.
What it is, oh wow, is it base re? I guess that's a good way of putting it. Is it base reality? Is it like the bare bones substructure of the higher versions? Maybe.
Mhm.
Is it like do we shift into like the lowest kind of AI version of Earth? It's a
Ah.
really complex question. I don't know. All I know is that everything looks off, everything feels off, and not it goes even beyond the sun and moon and the clouds. Like even the color of leaves and the color of trees and the color of
Everything looks
cactuses.
fake
It's
almost.
all changed. Everything is different.
Yeah.
The way birds behave, the way animals behave, everything.
Oh yeah.
Birds are now chirping at all hours of the night.
Oh
They're up
man.
going crazy at 3 o'clock in the morning, just flying around in circles. While in the old version, like they were only around when the sun came up.
Yeah.
During the
Yeah.
night, they were quiet birds. So
Yeah.
that's is that magnetic? I don't know, but it's something odd for sure.
Huh. But
Yeah.
so yeah, I like to think that this is also like some kind of like I like how you said it's bare bones like structure. Like we're just like in the lowest state maybe or something, and then like we're gradually seeing the higher states where time the 5D ascension that they all talk about, things like
Yeah.
that, where we can manifest anything, where it becomes like you can manifest anything at once, right? Like once you think about
That's
something, it's there. Yeah.
that is another thing I noticed about here is like I think mind made manifest definitely this place is very shifty, and I think your thoughts really do help create your surroundings here. It's
Yeah.
more, you have more of an effect with your mind in this version than in our previous, I think. So that one
Yeah.
had more spontaneity and more randomness, and this one seems like more controlled
Yeah, like
almost.
my producer talks about that a lot. Like he says that he'll be thinking about certain brand or something, and it'll be right there in store, like just for him. That just
That happens to me a lot. Yeah.
one bottle left, just for him. Like so somebody
Well,
could be like just like manipulating like little things like that. Like one time I remember I had my coffee mug was full, right, and then
yeah.
by the time and I was doing something and I came back, it was empty. I was like, what? So those little things
Wow.
like that, or I placed this something here. I know I placed it there, but then I found it somewhere else. So
Right.
moving
Right.
around things like that, little stuff.
Yeah, yeah, no, even my wife like would talk about like she would think of a brand and then they would show up and like right in
Yeah.
front of her face on the internet or in the store or like like I've had that happen many times where I'll give an example. So I was looking for a Pulp Fiction related subreddit to the movie Pulp Fiction
Hmm.
and then I go on Facebook and the person replies to my comment and their profile picture is of Pulp Fiction.
Oh, the
Totally
synchronicity.
unrelated.
The synchronicity
Yeah,
is
it's
off the charts.
synchronicity. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Or I got an Adidas tracksuit recently, and now I'm seeing Adidas everywhere.
Oh
I
yeah.
even saw a guy with an Adidas face mask, a
Oh my
face mask
gosh.
with the brand Adidas on
Oh
it. I'm like,
wow.
that's just odd.
That is so odd. Like what made that guy wear that Adidas right in front of like and he's walking right the odds. And sometimes like I'll be hearing something on YouTube, like some random podcast, and I'll
Yeah,
be, casually reading a book or just seeing something else, and he'll say some word and it'll match exactly with that what I'm the exact
I
word
had that.
my eyes are
Yeah,
on. So the
I had that happen
perfect
too. Yeah,
synchronicity. And then one of my
exactly.
spiritual gurus friends said that it's actually because you're on the right path or something like that. It's just a way
Oh,
of this realm, this spiritual realm, to tell you, hey, you know what? You're on the right path. That's why they're syncing everything. You're synced up, basically. And it's happening more and more because we're all kind of like going in the correct direction, maybe. I don't know.
that's good. Well, that's good news. I'm glad to hear that then.
Yeah, me too. Me too. It's
Right.
I
Yeah.
think it's all good news at the end of this. That's I know there's some
Yeah.
doom and gloom people, but I'm like stay positive, you know.
Well, maybe maybe the Earth was already destroyed, so we don't
Yeah.
have to be gloom and doom anymore.
Yeah, there's a theory that we all died in 2012 and then we're just some people think that that's what's happening too.
For me, I think it was the Fukushima in 2011. That was my theory. After
Ah,
that happened, yeah. But I don't
so many
know.
possibilities.
So many possibilities. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Daniel Berdichevsky, for being with us on the show. And any final thoughts you have? Any way people can follow you? Any websites? Of course, we know your YouTube channel. And anything else you want to say? Just go ahead. The floor is yours.
No, I'm just really happy you had me on. This was really enlightening. Thank you very much.
No
And
problem. Our pleasure.
my final thoughts is like I just really want people to know like they're not alone
That's good.
because um I've talked to so many people that felt so alone,
Nice.
like they thought they were going crazy, they don't want to talk about the changes they see, they're reluctant, they don't have any family they can talk to. Like we have a community here, you're
Yes.
far from alone. I just want people to realize that it's really important. Yeah.
Yeah, and I believe there was even a Mandela Effect conference that happened, I think last year or something.
Yeah.
There's a lot more people than we realize that are
There
going
is.
through
Yeah.
this. So
There is for sure. There is. Yep.
and
So.
yeah, anything also any websites that you want to plug here? Could be yours, could be somebody else's, like related information about the Mandela Effect.
No, I definitely just want to recommend the Quantum Businessman, like I said
Okay.
earlier.
Yeah,
My channel as well, if
of course, we'll
anyone's
leave a link.
interested. It's very random though, so I kind of just talk about whatever I feel like at any
That's what we
given
need.
time. So, yeah, so just so they know, and it's just kind of a little bit amateur, but whatever, you know. No, yeah, that's about it. Quantum Businessman. That's what I
Okay,
recommend.
I'm gonna
Really
check that
interesting stuff.
right
Yeah,
away. And
yeah,
yeah, thank you. Thanks, of course, for starting your channel and making people feel more, like they belong, here in this realm. Whatever is
right,
happening, they're not alone,
yeah,
as you said.
right.
So yeah, well, this is Santosh Kristudas, also known as Jack Bliss, signing off for the Toronto Business Journal, and we were very lucky to have with us Daniel. Thank you again for joining us.
Thank you.
And maybe we can talk about this. I mean, there's so much to talk about, right? Like about the
There
Mandela
is,
Effect. So
there is, yeah, there's a ton, right? Yeah,
yeah, maybe we can have you on again as well. And
sure.
yeah, thank you so much for joining us today. And hope you have a wonderful day ahead. And hope you also, like, I know you also do a lot of music. So keep doing your passions. Just
Yeah,
live your
I
dream,
will.
whatever
Thank
this
you.
realm is. And
Yeah,
I think that's one thing that we can all relate to the Mandela Effect. That
right.
if it's all an illusion, just live your best illusion. Yeah. Don't be
Exactly, exactly. Thank you. Thank you
no
so
problem.
much.
Thank you so much.